icy hot cup of lapsang souchong tea.
You what?
Okay, well... You're getting a promotion. It's my rock. You're getting a promotion.
You're on a show.
My show. I've had enough of you two. Look at my Minotaur. What? That's no Minotaur.
Okay, it like just looped, but I'm starting now. Fuck you. I was thinking this is a random video I found called 2 Hours of Robotnik Rock. It just takes the song Robotnik Rock and just loops it a bunch. And I was like, you know, they would have no way of like really knowing to do this, but they could put anything past the first loop of this song, and I would fucking just play it on stream. Like they could just like put out, just like churn out a bunch of like racial epithets and shit. Hold on. Maybe. This is a great remix. I had to fix a white pixel at the bottom of the screen. Okay. Whoa, whoa, Sonic just said, ew!
What?
Okay, thank you, Sonic. I found this fucking GIF the other day, and I sent it to Andrew. I was like, this is the most fucking insane GIF I've ever seen in my entire life. And he also thought it was insane. It kind of reminds me of the you know those little toys that you like squeeze? It's like a little ball thing that has like a membrane, and you squeeze it and it kind of goes and like part of it sort of bulbs out. It's like that, only it's Dr. Robotnik's ass. Does that make sense? Does anyone know what those are called? Like, what the fuck are those? I've referenced Robotnik Rock a lot. Whenever I say something, whenever I call something like a miserable rat, that's what I'm referencing. Give me one moment. Gonna do more reviews today. I said I would do it soon, and for the first time in my life, I'm actually going to do it again soon. Which, knowing my track record, means it's probably gonna be like, you know, I do 2 streams and then go like 6 months without doing any, but I'll try to keep it up. One thing that I think will help is I took this review spreadsheet and I bookmarked it. It's just a tab that I can just click on, so I don't have to like think about setting up the stream or anything. I can just do them when I want to. So as usual, I'm going to be listening to my own music. I was thinking earlier today, I was like, would the cops get involved if I was fucking listening to ASMR while doing these review streams? No one else can hear it. Who's gonna give a shit? I remember listening to ASMR on a fucking like Peglin stream at one point, and it was kind of fucking awesome. So I sort of want to do that. Because I'm going to have my like desktop audio muted. But you guys, I would encourage, these are, I think, a good stream to put on in the background while you're doing something else. So I don't want to have like my own music conflicting with whatever you're doing. You know, somebody said they were playing what? Somebody said they were playing like Dead Cells while they were watching this. Jim Carrey's ass could never compare with, what's the name of the actor who portrayed Eggman in the cartoon? He has like a funny name. He's also dead, so I shouldn't say his name is funny necessarily, but it is funny. I'm sorry. Some people just got a funny name. Okay. Let me take a little sippy of water here. We're gonna do whack games, which are kind of fucking weird to review. Like, it's... So many of these are not meant to be like a full game experience, or so many of them are just like random trash that I picked up off of like itch.io. And, Long John Baldry. Thank you. Long John Baldry. It's like, goddamn, imagine your first name being Long John. Do you think he was well endowed? This is the real question. Magnum Dong. I hope this, by the way, I hope this won't be distracting. Somebody at the very beginning of the stream said, I can't stop looking at his ass. And, yeah, sorry if anybody out there is fucking just, like, unable to stop edging to this shit, because it's so hot. Hold on, I gotta take another drink of water. So, whack games, a lot of these are very short and insubstantial. So, take that in mind when I'm rating them. That being said, I do feel like the ones that I feel like are insubstantial games, I'm still gonna like this one in particular, just for instance, A Slower Speed of Light. I'm sure some of you remember this. This was the first whack game stream, so this was the first whack game. And these are meant to be, the unifying theme of whack games is just games that are very strange or unusual, weird, you know, that sort of defy normal gaming conventions. That's why we do end up playing a lot of walking sims in there, but I try to keep the variety up in these. This was a walking sim where and this was it was developed by, what even was it actually? I should look this up. There was like some university, some prestigious university created this game, and it was meant to simulate what it would be like if the speed of light slowed down over time. And it's pretty cool, but it's pretty limited. It's MIT Game Lab, Google says. And it's just a big arena, basically. They just made like this one area that was like this kind of like Spyro-ass looking zone. And there's these orbs that you go around collecting, and each one makes the speed of light a little bit slower. And it just does this trippy effect where the colors kind of like fuck up as you move forward. And it's pretty interesting. And there's this sort of like, I don't know, there's like a light Doppler effect that's sort of going on. It's pretty interesting. But they didn't really do much with it. It's just a single like open area where you get a bunch of these things and then it's over. I don't know. They probably could have put more effort into like the actual game aspect, but I don't think there's really, you couldn't like form like a huge game around this, but it really is just, it feels more like a tech demo than anything else. So it's like cool, but I'm gonna give that like a 3.5. I don't know, saying I wouldn't recommend it feels mean, but like it's not really super worth downloading. Just watch my stream of it. So many of these I'm just like, yeah, just watch my stream, you'll get the essential experience. That's fine. So Mall Quest was pretty bad. Some of the whack games I don't like to know too much about a whack game. It's just I'll take a look at a game and I'll be like, that's whack, I should play that. And then sometimes I'll play them and they'll just be fucking lame. Mall Quest was pretty lame. It was like a vaporwave type thing. It just ripped a ton of sprites straight from Earthbound, if not like most of its assets. And it was like, oh, you're in a 90s mall and you're picking out a bunch of 90s products, and you have like, I think it's like you have a grocery list of a bunch of different things. Go buy Street Fighter 2 Turbo and like some Pogs, and you have a certain amount of budget to like buy them with or something like that. And then there's like all the mall patrons, if they touch you, you die or something like that. And it's pretty lame. It's not fun. It's very vaguely aesthetic for like 2 seconds, walking around in like a 3D space with Earthbound sprites, but it's not very fun. So I don't know. This is like I don't know. It's like real bad actually. It's not like offensive or anything. It's not like a tedious game. It's just kind of nothing. It kind of feels like they had an idea for like, oh, this would be a cool vibe, and then put almost no thought into it. So no, unfortunately. And I'm sorry, these games are probably all made by like a single person, and I'm going like, oh, it sucks. Oh, what the fuck are you thinking? This is just my personal level of enjoyment. Hold on, we've got somebody, Anonymous Shrew. There's one person looking at the review spreadsheet right now, and Google has labeled them the Anonymous Shrew. Sometimes Google has those little like icons with an animal in them, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? And then I have to mouse over it, because they put like deliberately like fucked up weird animals in there. The shrews are the animals that go, ah, let's take a closer look at that snout. Catacombs of Solaris, or Catacombs. People have called me a catacomber because I pronounce it catacombs. Pretty cool, actually. This was a neat one. Some of these, I think, like Slower Speed of Light and like Catacombs of Solaris. You remember when I did, what is it? The Zyme Garden? Where even was that? Well, whatever, you believe me. And that was like a collection of different... I see the fucking Google Doc filling up with people. That was like a collection of a bunch of weird little surreal environments and virtual art. A lot of these games, it would be like so cool if these were all sort of congregated in the same way. I don't know. I guess, you know, that's not really realistic. Like, why would that happen for like all of these random games? That would take a lot of collaboration and like organization, but it would be cool because some of them just feel insubstantial, and that's why I play a lot of them at once. You know, that's why I do like 6 or 7 different whack games in one stream. Catacombs of Solaris it's just like an endless hallway that's like pixel clown vomit, basically, just random colors. And it has this weird effect where every few seconds, I never really understood exactly what it was. It's like when you sit still for like a few seconds, then this is going to be almost impossible to describe, but it's like it takes a picture of what you're seeing right now and projects it like forced perspective illusion style on a straight corridor, even if you're not looking straight down the corridor. It like teleports you. It's really weird. It's really difficult to describe. It's a very trippy effect, and it ruined the bitrate. It just completely destroyed the bitrate. It was worth it, though. It's a cool game. Apparently, there is actually a follow-up to this game called Catacombs of Solaris Redux or something like that. And that is something I might play at some point. I don't know exactly what's added to the game there. It's very simple. It's like, don't expect much from this game. I think the itch.io page says that the goal is to find your favorite room, which is kind of fun, because you can do a bunch of crazy shit with this one weird visual effect. It's basically just giving you a playground to goof around with this one really weird mechanic. I don't know. This one's like a 5.5 for me, fam. Let's not be so rough on all these. Yes, I don't know, it's cool. It's actually cool, and it's fun to mess around with. This one I would also recommend. Burn Band is fucking lit. This is another one that there's going to be a sequel to. This is like a cyberpunk exploration, like pixel shit game. This is what much of the internet would eloquently term it, pixel shit. Hold on, let's look at what other animals we got here. Anonymous Hedgehog! Oh my god. Anonymous Koala. Anonymous Chinchilla. They're such fucking hipsters about the animals. Axolotl! Fuck you. It feels, I keep being like, oh my god, I left ASMR on accidentally while streaming, but no. No, I did this to myself. It's kind of fucking weird. I don't really feel particularly relaxed. Hold on, what do we got? Anonymous Llama, Anonymous Hippo. Okay, those are kind of lame. Those are some fucking, like, those are some real-ass animals. Those are animals that actually exist, not a fucking shrew. Someone said, I'll be very happy if Burn Band 2 is ever finished. Yeah, it's been taking a while, and I follow the guy who's making it on Twitter, and I don't think I've literally ever seen them post anything, any sort of update about the game. So I don't know what's up with that. You can see Robotnik's bulge, can't you? Or is that like part of his... I think that's like part of his jock strap. It's just kind of an illusion. It kind of looks like you can see his dick occasionally. It's fine, it's ambiguous. Online interactions are not rated by the ESRB. So Burn Band is cool. It doesn't really have any gameplay besides exploration, but it's actually a really well done sort of atmosphere mood piece, and it's surprisingly big. There's like a lot to explore, and it just looks really cool. It's very simplistic, sort of blocky pixel style. I think there might be like a filter over the screen too. And just a bunch of weird fucking aliens. I don't think it actually does have a filter over the screen. I'm not sure. Might be like a mild thing. But it's actually quite cool. If Burn Band 2 ever actually exists, I would hope that it would have just a little more actual interactivity with the world. I'm not one of these fucking schmucks that needs Cyberpunk 2077 levels of interactivity. Just something, because I think you literally can't interact with the world at all in the original Burn Band, which is a little lame. So that would be something I would hope for the sequel. The original, and I think it's unfinishable. I don't know, it might have an end, but I've never found the end. I've dicked around in that game a few times and never really found anything to do. Oh, excuse me, I need to clear my throat. I'm sorry. Overall, I would give this game like a 7. Like a solid 7. It's not long and it's not super substantial. I like my penis. But it is cool. It's actually genuinely very cool. What, is one of you a pumpkin? Is this supposed to be like the guy from Sleepy Hollow? No, anonymous pumpkin. One of them is a fucking pumpkin. That's not an animal. Camel, dingo, and moose. Pumpkin. One of you is a fucking pumpkin. This is better than chat interaction. It's basically just people running past me, holding up signs of random animals and plants. It literally says pumpkin. Hold on. Can I think there's like Control V on this. Yeah. So I can just... Oh god. Wait, where is it? Oh, it's like off to the right. Oh, fuck this. Want to use a fucking pumpkin, just believe me. I don't want to like fuck up the crop. This is a very meticulously made crop. Anyway. What Linus Bruckman sees when his eyes are closed. One of the best titles of any video game ever seen in the universe. I didn't beat it. It's probably not a terribly long game, but I feel not terribly qualified to talk about it because it like starts you off with this one really complicated puzzle, and then that might just be the whole game. I don't know. It's one of the weirdest fucking games I've ever seen in my life, though. It was like split screen down the middle. It was like two different versions of the same game, and you're controlling them both at the same time. And one of them was like this old, like sort of ancient Japanese style stuff, and it was like everybody was speaking a language I didn't understand. And then the top screen was like this weird futuristic cartoony like alien thing, and there's like this little blob dude like serving hamburgers or something. It was like a burger restaurant and he's like working there, but it's like you control like a character in both of those worlds, and you have to solve this weird puzzle using clues from like both worlds. It was very strange, and I was like, this is not something that I can solve on stream. Like, this is just going to be really tedious and boring. So I don't know if anybody ever wants to fucking test this game out and see what the fuck is up with what Linus Bruckman sees when his eyes are closed. I would love to know. I wonder if there's like a long play of it actually on YouTube, because I've never heard of this. Linus Bruckman sees when his eyes are closed. Like a long play. This one's 6 minutes. It's like, should I discover right now what the fuck is up with this game? Okay, yeah, it looks like... Oh, God! Okay, well, spoilers for what Linus Bruckman sees when his eyes are closed. Oh, shit. It's got an ending where it turns out that you're a crazy guy in a padded cell having like a seizure or something, or having a freak out. That's kind of a fucking lame non-ending, honestly. It's like, oh no, it's my mind is split, I'm in the cell, oh no. Wow, weird. Still kind of a zany, cool premise for a game. And I don't know, it just stuck out to me as weird. It's not what you would call fun, though. It's not exactly what you would call fun. Anonymous cormorant. Anonymous capybara. And then like beaver and anteater. Come on, some of these are fucking lame. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. That ending is kind of dumb. And honestly, like, looking at it as a whole now, it's like the entire thing is just that one kind of complicated puzzle. It gets points for being super fucking zany and weird and having a really, like, just what the fuck am I looking at sort of aesthetic. So, by the way, people are like, how are you seeing the anonymous animals? Some of you guys are probably seeing different anonymous animals. It's probably like Dark Souls messages where everybody sees like a different like batch of them. Oh shit, we have 2 anonymous beavers in a row. How the fuck did that happen? So this game, okay, we gotta blast through these. I can't keep getting distracted with the fucking like collaborators on the spreadsheet. This game is, I don't know, like a 3.5. Let's give it that. Maybe like a 4. No, let's give it a 3.5. Because it's kind of like one long, kind of like weird puzzle is most of the game. Wouldn't recommend, but it is neat. 0. Okay, here is a fucking secret banger game. And I'm sorry, but I don't even know if this game can be found on the internet. Like, if you search up 0 game, you're gonna find 10 million other results besides this game. But it was a bullet hell shooter made entirely out of ASCII text, or like where all the graphics are ASCII text. And it was actually quite cool, and I remember it being like good, decently challenging, but not like too CBT. It was quite short. I think it took like 10 minutes, maybe like 5 or 10 minutes. But it was actually really cool, and it was a neat idea, well executed. It didn't have any, there was no like flab to it. It was just pure, like, here's a cool little idea for a game, in and out, done in a second. So this one was actually really cool. I would give this like a 7.5, I think. I don't know if it has super crazy replay value. It could use like difficulty modes and shit, I guess. But yeah, it was neat. Good fucking luck finding it. Like, I wonder if I still have it in my folder. Hold on. I have a big folder of games, and I have a subfolder called Streamed. Yeah, I got 0 right here. Maybe I could even like just share this fucking game, because I tried to find it on the internet and I couldn't. I literally could not locate it. There are 50 people on the Google Doc right now. Jesus Christ. Hey, Anonymous Axolotl has finally joined us. Jesus Christ. I'm gonna get so many fucking, like... it keeps giving me a little pop-up that says, like, this spreadsheet may not be, like, editable by all parties or whatever, because there's too many collaborators right now. So I hope I can continue to edit this. I would ask, maybe you don't, like, try to, like, fucking overflow it if anybody's just logging on with a bunch of accounts. Anywho. This one's called The Nightmare of a City. It has a very pretentiously, like, mangled name. This would be another one that would have been a great level in the Zyme Garden, but instead it's just its own thing. Oh my god. I think somebody was botting because the number just went from, like, 70 to 14. I appreciate that, whoever was doing that. Leaning off the gas a little bit. We have two anonymous chinchillas next to each other. Somebody said this is literally like baby entertainment, seeing random animals, and it is. It is. It went down. That is like kind of scary. It's like that scene in fucking like John Wick where like the villain fucking like gives it's like at the end of like John Wick 1 or 2 where like I think it was the end of John Wick 2 where the villain like meets John Wick in a courtyard that's like full of people, and at one point, just to demonstrate his power, the villain like holds up his hand and like every single person in the courtyard stops and like looks at John Wick or something like that. And it was like, they're all hired guns. That's how it felt seeing those bots just leave. Oh, raid. Thank you for the raid. It's the first time I've uttered those words in my fucking life, but I'm way more receptive to small raids. Welcome to my lovely spreadsheet stream. Literally nobody is going to stick around, and I don't blame you. Here's this random.itch.io game from 50 years ago that I'm reviewing. The Nightmare of a City, it's supposed to be like this sort of, you're like in the perspective of a person who's like super trashed, stumbling around a sort of rainy city during like high traffic or whatever. And it's pretty cool. It's a cool like atmospheric thing. It looks neat. It's got one of those like sort of blurry pixel filters that a lot of itch.io games have. But it's quite cool. I remember one of the cool details is like there are cars going by, and if one of them passes really near you, it becomes like omega loud and it like shakes the screen or something. It like really jostles you. And I think it's supposed to be like, vroom, like, whoa, close call, bro. You know, like whoever is just like sloshed as fuck stumbling through the city, you know, just got like spooked by it, you know. I don't think I would recommend it just because it's kind of simple. It's like you emerge from a subway and then you go down into another subway and then the game just fucking ends and it's like, okay. But it was neat. Inoffensive, like 4. I'm gonna give it a 4. Red Desert Render. This one is really fucking weird. It was not a great game. It was like a big open world. It was like indie open world, which means almost completely barren. And you played as this weird little like blob of polygons, and I remember you could find shacks that you would go into, and it was like you're like a 4-dimensional being. It was like you would go into the shack, move your mouse around, and your character's body would go like and like morph into something else. It was really weird. And there were other sort of similar things in the game, but it was a very barren overworld wasteland, and they gave you like a little checklist of like things to do. And I remember the checklist, I remember looking at it and being like, this is way too much shit to do. Like, I'm not gonna do this. I'm just gonna like dick around for a while and then leave. So I did. That's why it says gave up. Linus Bruckman also says gave up. So yeah, it's not a great game. It was very strange, and I really liked the one feature where you could like change your characters. It was basically indescribable. Like the best I can describe it is like they were trying to like make like a 4th-dimensional being. It just looked really weird. A lot of the features of this game kind of felt like somebody was fucking around in like a game engine and like, I don't know, or they were like fucking around in like a Blender or something, and they found this really weird effect and they were like, oh, we gotta like put this in a game, you know, make like a weird game out of it. If it had more, this could have been a lot cooler if it had a little more effort put into it, I think. But even then, it was kind of just a weird sort of nothing idea. But I don't know. I went a 3. No. But maybe, I don't know, maybe it becomes really fucking cool once you get that checklist done. Who's to say? Can I just say, the NES games and the WAC games have really started adding a splash of color variety to this otherwise pretty green dominant list here. We got, right at the top, Mario Bros, with the only red score for quite some time. Then Power Punch 2, then Beat City. Just some true shit games. Blues Brothers 2000, Night of 100 Frights, EnviroBear 2000. They all have fucking 2000. Or like numbers in the name. Okay, whatever. NES games and WAC games are shaking hands, and like over their hands it says being shit. No. Can I just say WAC games are some of the most fun streams for me. I really enjoy them, and I even if the game is poopy, like Linus Bruckman sometimes, like, I don't know, that's not a poopy game, but like, even if the game is not something that I like actually want to engage with at all, I appreciate it's like going to the zoo. Forest Star for Trees, this is the most should have been a level in the Zyme Garden game of all time. It was just a room with like this weird effect where trees keep sort of appearing outside of your field of view. So if you turn around and then like look back, there's like a bunch of trees behind you. And it was like the background is one solid color. So many of these games are so hard to describe in words, but I'm gonna try just for the fuck of it. It was like the background is one solid color, then each tree is a different solid color, and whenever they overlap, they create some new solid color, you know, which creates kind of this cool, like, rainbowy, neat effect. And you could walk directly into one of the trees, and it would take the solid color of that tree, and that color would become the background color. So it was like you're walking into the world of that tree. It was very weird and very cool, but it was something that I played for 2 minutes, and then I went, okay, that's neat. Time to leave, because there's nothing else to this. You know? So again, it would have been a great level in the Zyme Garden, a little like thing that you teleport to. As it stands, no, would not recommend playing. But it's neat. It's a cool little thing. I don't know, a lot of these are going to be like in the low, like 3.5, 4. Like, they're not trash. This, however, is not even really a game. It's more of like an animation where you can control where the camera is. And I think that's literally it. You can zoom the camera, you can move it around, but it's a T-posing, motionless Luigi 3D model standing on a 3D model of an egg flying over an ocean that's actually animated. That's the one animated part of it. And it plays this little song that I don't know if it's an original composition or what, or if it's from something. It's not a half bad song. It could be kind of a good video game song, but it might just be from something. I don't know. I don't know if I want to even give him points for that. It's nothing. I mean, I almost want to write NA here instead of 1. Like, I'm sure the person who made this game would not be offended because they're like, yeah, that was just a dumb fucking thing I made in 2 seconds. Of course it's not a good game. But, yeah, it's not even, I don't know, not even worth talking about. It was kind of funny. It was literally, I was like, I bet people will clip this for Twitch scraps if I like scream and do something funny while this is on screen. And it did, and it worked. Okay. Toby Fox composed the music. Are you fucking kidding me? Luigi floating on an egg over the sea. Toby Fox. Is this just complete bullshit? Bruh, what? Okay, I'm pausing my fucking ASMR so we can listen to the Luigi Toby Fox music. Original artist Toby Fox. What do you mean? This is the song. Like, where can I get a source on this? I don't know. There's I've original song by Toby Fox. I just added some weird trippy effects. Bruh, what? It's a remix of a song Toby Fox made for a Mario fan game. Bruh. That's kind of fucking bonkers. Honestly, that is kind of fucking bonkers. Okay. Well, soundtrack by Toby Fox. Didn't expect that. You know what? You know what, Toby Fox, you sick son of a bitch? You just added 0.5 to this by merely your existence. Your involvement, it's not even the song, your involvement with this game baffles me so much that I'm adding half a point to the score. Okay. I did hear about him making music for the upcoming Pokemon games. Fucking weird, man. That's like a meme 1.5, though. Okay, Braindead. This is actually quite a cool game. This is one of my favorite whack games. This is not a game you should play if you are sensitive to flashing lights. Here's a little warning. It is very visually intense and has like a crazy fucking glitchy, sort of almost like data moshing type style going on. It looks really cool. It's got cool music. There's a little fun fact about this game. I like emailed the creators of this game and I was like, hey, can you send me the audio track for the song? And they were like, sure. And here's another song that we didn't include in this game that we were going to include for like some second like area, but we didn't end up using it. And I was like, whoa. So I uploaded, both of those are still on the Fruit Salad channel, the Braindead OST, like 1 and 2, I think. So I got access to the like exclusive cut soundtrack to this game. But it's actually quite a cool game. It's one of those games where it's like a platformer, but there's a character that you can't control directly. They just automatically walk from left to right, and you have to. It's kind of like Lemmings in a way. It's like weird surrealist Lemmings, and you have to use the environmental obstacles that you can control to like guide them through the level. And it's a pretty short game, no longer than it needs to be. And it's just kind of cool. I don't know, it has a really neat vibe and I always really liked it. This was just something that I found randomly like years and years ago. But I don't know, this is like, and again, I'm going to invite you to not compare. I'm going to, bring this to the forefront of everyone's minds every time I do something like this, but don't compare this game's 8 to like, I don't know, like, didn't I give one of the Half-Life games an 8? I don't know. Don't compare this to other grades, like Half-Life, I guess, Lost Coast, fucking Half-Life Blue Shift and this game are not necessarily comparable, but that's just how much I enjoyed it. It is really cool. I think it's actually worth a play. It's a hidden gem. Yeah, that Toby Fox thing is still kind of blowing my fucking mind. That's kind of fucked up. Like, what? Okay, Left 4 Dead 2, this is a banger game. Everybody knows this is a banger game. In terms of my personal enjoyment of it, I've actually played a considerable amount of it, not a ton. The only thing that we actually did on stream so far was Andrew and I played a bunch of Disneyland Left 4 Dead levels right when COVID started. Which was a long time ago, fuck. So we didn't actually look at the main game, but I have played the main game quite a bit. And I think, if memory serves, Left 4 Dead 2 has that sort of Rayman Legends quality of containing a lot of levels, if not all the levels from the previous game. And so it's almost not worth playing the original Left 4 Dead. Like, I don't know, is there any good reason to do so? Does it even have... It might have some unique levels that didn't get carried over. But really, this one's the full package, and it's just one of the most fucking fun games I've ever played. And maybe my thoughts are being affected by that video. There was some video that I saw recently that I'm sure a lot of you have seen too, that was talking about comparing Back 4 Blood and Left 4 Dead and just looking at all the really insane cool details of Left 4 Dead. Like some of them I knew about previously, like the fucking like the music cues and the AI director and shit like that. But some of those just insane meticulous details that Valve put into their games were just makes the game really fucking awesome and really replayable too. It's like they don't have that many missions in these games, but through, I mean, like not only modding, but also just good game design, they make it really, really replayable and fun. Great atmosphere, great animation, like kind of fucking mind-blowing how good the animation is and how well it holds up over time too. A lot of these like Source Engine Valve games have aged spectacularly, I think. And so I don't know. This game's like a solid 9 for me, I think. Like I've never been the hugest fan. Like I know Andrew's played a lot more of it than I have, but yes, would definitely recommend. I guess I'm just not a huge like gun shooting zombie killing type gamer usually, but this game is so polished and fun and so made by Valve that I can't help but love it anyway. Like I can't think of another zombie game that I've played actually besides like Half-Life. And yeah, that's another Valve game. Fuck. So yeah, I feel like I should have more to say about Left 4 Dead 2, but what can I say about it that hasn't already been said? It's a fucking awesome game. Really cool music. Really cool like enemy design. They just clearly put a lot of thought into making the game just viscerally fun to play, and it is. And it's scary too. It's actually scary at times, which is really all you can ask for in a zombie survival horror type thing, you know. Anywho, walking simulator. This game was bad. It was not good. Sometimes I look at my contemporaries like Vinny and like Germa and shit, and I see them play so many games that are like blank simulator. It like just like random like trash Steam games, and I'm not trying to like shit on their like style, but I don't know how they can stand it. I played one of these and I was just kind of like, okay, get this out of my face. It wasn't truly offensive, but it was clearly just like a shitposty game. It was kind of a loose parody of Death Stranding, where it's like, oh, isn't it so fun just walking across the fucking like mountains, teehee? But then they did attempt to make it actually fun and like put some entertaining things in, because I think there was like hyper omega speed power-ups that could make you just like zoom across the map, and that was vaguely fun for a little bit. I think there were other mechanics that I never actually interacted with too, like there were vehicles and shit that you could use, but it really didn't feel like anything that I couldn't have achieved just by fucking around in Gmod on my own. You know, like I didn't need this game to exist for me. It was really just because it had the word walking in the title. It was really just the word walking. So yeah, would not recommend. I don't know, it's like a 2.5. It was mildly fun flinging my character's body, their lifeless ragdoll, across the map. Let's take a look at the animals here. Elephant, chinchilla, fox, jackal, lame. Absolutely lame. Google's really disappointing me on the hipster animals. I think I saw blobfish in there earlier. I've definitely seen Nyan Cat, too. I've absolutely seen anonymous Nyan Cat before, which is just fucking, like, talk about dated. Okay, Solar 2. This was the rare instance of Lark making an edit of a solo stream that was just me. That was like, there was a main channel video that's just edited by Lark, and it was just because like we didn't have any other videos for him to edit at the time, and he was like, hey, can I just like edit one of your streams? And I was like, sure. And I think he did a good job too. This is a game where you play as an asteroid and you like gain mass and become a planet. It's kind of fucking based. It's kind of a cool game. It's not like the most fun I've ever had, but it's sort of, you know, in Flash games and shit, I've played various like gravity simulators, space gravity, like planet mass simulator, and those are always fun to dick around with. And this is basically that, but turned into an actual video game with objectives and challenge and like, you know, some attempt at like a curve. It's pretty cool. I've never beaten it, and I don't think I ever will beat it because I just don't care about doing some of the harder missions. And I think there's like a lot of missions too, but it is cool. It's just kind of like a sandbox game where you find, kind of like GTA, where you just find missions randomly around the world. And it's like God is talking to you and tells you like, oh, you know, aliens are attacking this world. I need you to go exterminate them. And you basically just go slam. It's like, you know, eventually you turn into like a sun and you have planets rotating around you. And then the planets have moons rotating around them. And the moons have like asteroids rotating around them, which is really cool. And you can basically just like smash a solar system into another one and knock them around like billiard balls and just cause mass destruction. It's kind of cool. It's like a cathartic sandbox. It's got a good like sense of weight to it and like physics. And some of the challenges are really funny and wacky, but all that being said, it is not like that captivating of a game. It's just sort of something fun to dick around with for a little while. I feel like it's not. I feel like this is, again, similar to GTA, not a game that a lot of people are going to complete. Like a disproportionately small amount of people are probably going to complete this game, if I had to guess. Real funny until it happens to you. What, until a planet smashes into another one? Our galaxy is set to collide with the Andromeda galaxy, right? In a couple years, just a couple short years. Come election season, the Andromeda galaxy will almost be here. But no, Solar 2, it's a cool game. Like a 6.5 or like a 6. Yeah, let's give it a 6.5. Fuck it. It is a neat game. I'm very on the fence about recommending it, but I'm going to go with yes. This one, Tiny and Big and Grandpa's Leftovers, this is a personal favorite of mine. Definitely would recommend. This game's got an awesome fucking soundtrack. That's the first thing. It's got a really great visual like art style, and it's got an amazing soundtrack. And it's got really fun gameplay. There's just a few things about it. The platforming itself, like the controls of the platforming, doesn't feel super polished, and like the physics of how your character moves around always have felt a little bit clunky to me. But it's this really cool sort of like grungy game where you're in this big like desert area with a ton of big like temples and rocks around you, and you have a laser and you can cut through massive objects and just slice them in half, kind of like Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, except on a massive scale. You can just cut huge things, and it's super cathartic and fun, and they make a lot of really interesting sort of fun puzzles around it. A lot of them just amount to just destroy shit with this laser, and you get like a hook that you can like attach to it and like yank shit down off of a cliff, and you can like attach rockets to things and shoot them off into the distance. It's really great. And all of this, every mechanic kind of has, like the laser cutting is the coolest part, and that's a really polished, fun mechanic. But some of the other things like the rockets and like I said, the platforming does feel a little unpolished, and I think this game could be like a legendary speedrun game if it just had slightly better physics, you know, because you could like do some crazy Breath of the Wild, like flinging yourself across the map with rockets and shit like that. As it stands, that's not really possible with how the game controls. So if they ever made another Tiny and Big game, I would cream my fucking pants. Like, that would be so cool, especially, of course, if they made it a little bit tighter in several regards. But the soundtrack to this game, it's got one of those Hotline Miami style soundtracks where it's just a bunch of collaborating artists. Ton of instrumental stuff, really, really cool. A lot of great variety, but it all kind of blends together well to create an amazing vibe for the game. And like I said, it looks really cool too. It's got this sort of scratchy, cartoony style that's really neat. But yeah, I think this is a kind of a hidden gem. It's awesome. I would probably give this like a 9. Hovering between like an 8.5 and a 9. I think the soundtrack really kicks it up to a 9. Having an amazing soundtrack can really just elevate a game. Like, a lot of my favorite games are ones that have incredible music. Like, of course, Luigi Floating on an Egg Over the Sea. OST by Toby goddamn Fox. What the actual fuck? Yeah, I heard about Joker too. If Joker's so good, why isn't there... oh no. Okay, how you guys doing? How you guys holding up? Copy, paste. Anybody who was just edging just bursted and nursed at the Robotnik ass overload. Okay. Doing good? You need a sandwich? Still coping with the whole Toby Fox thing. It wasn't a Mario fan game, it was a Yoshi fan album. Yoshi has many fan albums. I remember I've listened to a Mario Sunshine fan album, so I shouldn't talk shit. Okay. Guillotine is a good item. Ban that person. Wavey the Rocket. This was a game that was sent in by the developers, and I think this is probably one of the best games that has ever been like sent in. This goes up there with like Sprout. It was pretty cool. I didn't finish it. I just did a one-off stream of it. I would compare it a lot visually and maybe sort of gameplay-wise to Bit Trip Runner or Runner 2 Future Legend of Rhythm Alien specifically. It just has a similar sort of 3D style and sort of, it's kind of goofy, has a similar sort of like, oh, everything's super crazy and comical. And that's probably to me the weakest aspect of the game. Again, it just kind of feels like the team of people making this game should have sat down and been like, okay, we need, like, let's come up with like a really cool vibe for this game. And it just sort of ended up feeling like a meme, like the story and shit. Oh god, fucking malware bytes. I need to uninstall. My life is an endless cycle of installing malware bytes, like the free demo, running out the free trial, and then forgetting to uninstall it and getting the little fucking pop-ups on my screen all the time. But Wavey the Rocket was very cool. It was like you play as a sine wave or something. You play as a wave, or your character travels on a wave traveling across the screen, and you can change the wavelength and like the compression. I don't remember what the term is. There's wavelength, and then there's something else like the depth or something of the wave to kind of navigate around levels. And it's a really cool, unique movement mechanic that I don't think I've ever seen in any other game. It's pretty fucking epic, actually. And I remember it was like challenging but fun. Like there was a good difficulty curve, if I recall correctly, and there was like some cool boss encounters and shit. I don't remember a ton about it because I just played it once, but I actually it was neat. It was neat. One of the better games that has been sent in by the devs. Again, I don't know. Really aesthetically, it's lacking. It just feels like they didn't really have any like really great ideas for how to make it look, and it could have been. I don't know if it had like some really strong, cool, like striking art style. This could have been like a beloved indie classic, I feel like, but I've never heard anybody mention this besides me. So I don't know. I can only assume it didn't do too well. I don't know, like a 5.5 or a 6? Let's give it a 5.5. Because, I mean, if I had liked it more, I would have continued playing it. I did like it. But I remember there was also like a lot on my plate at the time. That was my excuse. Okay, Abzu. This is an awesome game. Very pretty game. One of the most just outright sort of like beautiful looking games I've ever played, I think. It's Swimming Simulator. That was actually, speaking of walking simulator, originally, the plan on the main channel was to have a video called Walking Simulator, and that was the game Walking Simulator. And then I was like, okay, Abzu's going to be Swimming Simulator, which a lot of people commented, oh, you call it Swimulator. No, I make the calls. And then there was going to be a third video called Flying Simulator, and that was going to be there were a handful of sort of cool indie games where you fly that I was gonna maybe do. Inner Space was one of them, but then I kind of just never ended up doing any of those, and I dropped the idea because I waited way too long to do it. So nobody even really realized, or I think very few people realized that was supposed to be like a trilogy or anything, but I didn't even complete it. But nobody complained because nobody cared. And I heard Inner Space wasn't like amazing. So Abzu is like a really cool game where you play as like a future scuba diver. I think it's supposed to be like in a different world, but it's, clearly kind of analogous to Earth. It's got kind of, an environmental message where it doesn't talk about climate change, but it clearly it shows you like really beautiful locales, and then it shows you like dead, like disgusting, polluted locales too. And it's clearly trying to push that sort of angle. But overall, it's kind of got like, a vague plot, very sort of like, it's like, everything's very floaty and like spiritual. And it's cool. It's a cool experience. It's not like the most substantial thing, and maybe it could have had more gameplay. I don't know. The controls I remember feeling pretty good, and I don't know, maybe they wouldn't have been super suited to like action sequences, but some sort of something besides just exploring around looking at things would have been cool. But it's still really cool. I would recommend this game. Yet another game where maybe just watching like a long play of it would be a good substitute for it, but not necessarily. Like swimming around and looking for yourself is fun. Little fun fact about this game, a lot of the smaller fish are not animated at all. They just have like a 3D, they have like a wave effect applied over the top of them. It's very strange. I never noticed it once going through the game though. Like, it fooled me completely. It's just supposed to be to like simulate the way that they move without actually having to animate each individual one and render them in 3D. It's like a lot of them are just 2D images that are just getting warped around. But the game looks great. It still looks beautiful. It doesn't look cheap or shitty at all. So it's pretty great. It's a pretty cool game. I give it like a 7.5, 8 and 0.5. Maybe an 8. Maybe even an 8.5? No, let's stick it at 8. It's a cool game, though. Very cool game. The part where you, like, walk around on land was a little bad, though. If I had to give one, like, criticism of one part of it. And I remember there's a part where you kind of, like... There is a part where you're in danger, actually. There's a little bit of gameplay kind of near the end. But I don't know. It could have had a little more game to it. I know I'm saying that for a lot of things here, but whatever. Pongs! Now, this one is on the Flash Games list as well, so I already reviewed it there. Should I just go check and see what I rated it there? That would be such a douchey move. I'm going to do it. Game list. I'm going to go to the fucking... Actually, is it... Where even is the Flash Game review spreadsheet? There's one that truly has been lost. Okay, whatever. Do I even care about doing this? Hold on. I refuse to do work. Flash Game review sheet. Yes. I know I like didn't give these the same kind of like number ratings. I rated it as a real meme game. Thank you, past self. Because I rated a lot of games, it's like real game or a meme. And this was a real meme game. God damn it. Yeah, that helps a lot, past me. Okay, well, it's fucking Pongs. It's a jokey compilation of like many different variations on Pong. Andrew and I had a ton of fun playing this, honestly. And I feel like this is one of my most popular or beloved videos is Pongs. I don't know if this is really like, I feel like a lot of people talk about Pongs a lot, and the video Pong Pong Never Die has quite a lot of views, but it's a neat game, neat concept. You kind of get sick of Pong by the end of like playing through all of them, and some of them are just bad. Like some of them are unplayable. But some of them are unplayable, but kind of in a funny way. Some of them are unplayable in kind of an unfunny, like, bad way. it's a fun thing to play through like once with a friend and then never touch again, but it is neat. It is actually cool. And I really don't know. I guess I didn't put this on the Flash game. I put this on the Flash game list as well as this one because why did I do that? It's because this one wasn't like part of a Flash game Friday, I guess. But it was technically a Flash game still. I think we've had a couple other instances of things like that. I mean, we had the Basement Collection, which had kind of a similar-ish situation, because that's a collection of Flash games. Whatever. Pongs. Good God, how would I rate this? Like a 7.5? It's a neat idea, pretty well executed. Not like a perfect experience necessarily, and not like the best fucking thing you'll ever play. But it was cool. Dong Dong Never Die. This is a very goofy fighting game. It's digitized sprites of real people, which always makes for funny. And I think it's intentionally funny. It's supposed to be funny. It has like meme characters, like fucking. There's a 3D model of Mario that has Akuma's moveset for some reason. Rate each individual Pong. Fuck. Maybe I did that on the Flash game. The Flash game review streams are on the review playlist, by the way. I always keep them at the end of the playlist. And someday there will be another Flash game review stream when I'm done with Flash Game Friday. I'll do like one more reviewing all the rest of the ones that I played. I can't rate Dong Dong Never Die as an actual fighting game. I am actually on the like competitive Dong Dong Never Die Discord, but that's just more out of like curiosity than actual like knowledge or interest about like the frame data of all these characters and shit. But I've heard it's not completely broken and imbalanced. There's only a couple of totally fucking busted characters. The game is kind of glitchy. That would be one thing I would bring up about this game if you're going to get it running on a modern computer, because it's a little old and it's just kind of crusty. I think people are maybe even working on like a Redux version that runs better and doesn't have all the glitches. And maybe it could maybe have a translation. I don't know. Dare we dream? Because it was really hard for me to like figure out how to like do all the settings and shit. Because everything was in Japanese Unicode that just breaks on my computer, and I'm not personally like computer savvy enough to know how to get around that. So it was kind of an uphill battle playing it. I remember certain characters were just unselectable. And the game would crash kind of often. We could only play on one stage. We could never figure out what exactly we could do to play on a different stage. But the game is funny. It's another game, again, similar to Pongs. I think they were lumped together in that one stream pretty well because of this unifying feature. They're both fun to play once and then never again. Just like never even like think about them again. Maybe I would give this like a 7. I don't know. It's cute and there's a lot of effort put into it, and it's like it's a half decent, like competent, entertaining fighting game with sort of Street Fighter controls. There's a lot of issues with it too, and I don't know. It's general crustiness and difficulty to like actually get it running. Kind of does help like hurt its score for me personally. But yes, would recommend. It's kind of neat. We got a lot of recommends in a row here, actually. I suppose early on in the list, it's like mostly recommends. Yeah, it's pretty split, actually. It's interesting. I like the spreadsheet a lot because it sort of catalogs. I can like sort of take a step back from my own opinions and like look at things from like a statistical point of view, which is kind of fun. How close are we to like the arcade games wall? We're pretty far. We're pretty far. We've got a lot of other just random small games here, though, that are not going to take too long to talk about. I don't think we'll get to the arcade games though today, which I was kind of hoping maybe we could do, but I've already been going for an hour and 4 minutes. I don't know if I'll be going for too much longer. I wanted to do a second stream today because I did a short stream earlier. Guys, I don't want to freak anyone out, but I'm going to take off my shirt because it's too hot in my room. Nobody get too excited. I don't want anybody to freak out. It's coming off. All right. FTL Faster Than Light. This one's kind of complicated for me to talk about because I've never really given this game the time that it deserves, but I do respect this game a lot. This game has a fucking amazing soundtrack. Yeah, that woke you guys up, didn't it? Really amazing soundtrack that I've listened the fuck out of. Some of the best, like, studying music of all time, I think. Actually, just the other stream, the previous reviews stream, there was a point in it where I realized that I had been listening to the FTL title theme for 40 solid minutes. So that should indicate just how good and easy listening this music is. So really amazing soundtrack. That, of course, you guys know I like that in the game. Otherwise, it's kind of like a Star Trek simulator where you get to be the captain of a ship in like a Star Trek-esque universe. And you just go around. It's like a roguelike where you go. If you've heard of FTL, you know what it is. But it's like a roguelike where you go around interacting, like having basically episodes of Star Trek where it's like, you know, a plot of the week where there's some problem that we need to fix. It's some moral dilemma, and we need to just discover what we need to do. It's not very deep because some of the events are just like fucking random. It's just like, do you choose to help these people or not? And then there's just like a chance for it to be a good outcome. There's a chance for it to be a bad outcome. That whole, like, the randomness of it really makes it feel like just throwing your head at a fucking brick wall. I never really understood why this game needed to be difficult, like that difficult. I heard somebody say that, like, early on in its development, it had a really dedicated player base, and it kind of like skewed the devs' idea of what the difficulty was, because people were like, oh, it's too easy, make it harder, but it was like people who had been obsessively playing nothing but the game. That's just what I heard. I'm not sure if it's true. But that's kind of how it feels, because even on easy mode, the game is very difficult. And a lot of the time, at least to me, a casual player, it really just felt like I was just at the whim of random luck. And I never got terribly far. I appreciate, like, it's a cool sort of RTS type thing. The ability to pause at any moment is a godsend. The game would be, like, unplayable to me without the pause. That's like some good leniency, allowing you to just sit there and collect your thoughts at any given time. But the combat is cool. I sort of enjoy the ship battles. There's a nice strategic element to it. It just always feels like such an insane uphill struggle that I don't really enjoy playing the game that much, but I respect it greatly. I truly do. So I'm gonna go ahead and say I would recommend this to anybody that isn't named Grapefruit. Like, I don't know, if you feel like you can handle it a little better than I can, then yes, I would recommend it. There's a lot to love about it. And it's got kind of a cool, like, moral aspect too, where the I don't know, it's like you know, you have to think about the morals of what all these different, like, situations. You have to think about how cruel you want to be to people. You know, do you accept people's surrender when they, like, beg for mercy, or are you going to try to get more scrap just by, like, killing them? Shit like that. It's kind of got a Papers, Please-esque quality to it. So, shit's pretty cool. I feel like the game would have been designed to be easier if you couldn't pause. Yeah, almost certainly. Yeah. But I do enjoy, like, all the stuff where it's like you need to partition, like, enough energy to different sectors of the ship to actually power them, to make them better or worse. I enjoy, you know, when you get an invader on the ship and you open all the airlocks and just suffocate them. That's pretty funny. Shit like that. It's a cool game. It's a really neat game. But it's not really my style. I'd give it like let's give it like a 7.5. 8. Fuck it. Okay, Short Hike. Short Hike is fucking great. I would probably give this, just instinctively, I want to give this an 8.5. And a yes. Of course, this is a very this is a game that anyone can play. This is something I would recommend to like my sister who doesn't really play many video games or something like that. It's just a very pleasant game that has a very sort of cute art style. It's a platformer that kind of looks like a little diorama. It has the itch.io pixel filter over it, but it doesn't look bad. Very cute game, very colorful, pleasant, amazing soundtrack. Amazing. One of the better soundtracks on this list, you know. And it's a really cute game. It's got a lot of cute little touches. It's got kind of an emotional core to it that I didn't like personally resonate with, but I was like, all right, that's cool, you know. But I think the plot is that you're trying to find cell signal. You need to like get a phone call, so you're trying to get to the top of a mountain. I think this game takes pretty clear influence from Celeste. It's like the best way of taking influence from something too. Like they took a couple of concepts, like, okay, this is a game where you're climbing a mountain, for instance, which I know that, you know, plenty of games are about climbing a mountain, like sexy hiking. But it's also got that whole mechanic where you get like a double jump in midair. It's like kind of like the dash, and your character changes color when they use it to indicate that you don't have it anymore. That felt like a direct, almost like a reference to Celeste. But I think they did a great job taking influence without just like making a ripoff of Celeste. You know, it's like basically completely different in other ways. I could be wrong too. Watch it turn out that A Short Hike came out before Celeste or something. I don't even know. I don't think it did. But very cool game, very cozy. It has like stuff for if you want to 100% it too, but I don't really know why you would want to 100% it. For me, it's just a fun game to pick up and play in an afternoon and then be done with it. But the option's there. One of my bigger issues with this game is the dialogue just annoyed me, and I'm sorry, everybody was like, boomer, boomer, boomer. I just really didn't like certain games and like just things in text. I don't like when people insert like uhs and ahs and like okay, and I don't know. The dialogue tried too hard to be like quirky and like and like relatable and like realistic, and it just came across really distracting and like kind of cringy and annoying. I just didn't like it. I'm sure I was informed that this was a bad take by like everyone, but it is my take. The dialogue continually annoyed me. But it's got really cool. Man, should I bump this up to a 9? I think I should bump this up to a 9 now that I'm like really talking about it. Cool dynamic music, really, really excellent use of dynamic music. Just in certain zones, as you're walking around to different areas, the music will change. But also, one touch that I really like is that when you fly in this game, because you can glide, it like adds extra instruments to the music. It adds like little trilling like string instruments and like violins going in the background when you're flying around, and it's so cool. It really adds a lot to the game. But yeah, I would say the things that I don't care for as much, like, yeah, that pixel filter, I think a lot of games could just go without doing it, honestly, personally. And the dialogue, I didn't really, it just continually bothered me. But otherwise, I don't know, it's a really solid game. Really, really solid game. I've only played it once, but it's a really solid game. I would give it a 9 out of 10, apparently. Dear Esther Landmark Edition. This is a weird one. I would recommend this game if you want to feel real depressed, if you want to be real sad, and maybe kind of confused too. It's a cool game. This was one that when I initially played it ages ago, I was kind of like mixed on it, and I kind of grew to appreciate it over time. I know, it's just kind of like an artsy walking simulator. Oh, it's about depression or whatever, indie game about depression, but it is very cool. sort of a neat, sort of elegiac exploration of the feelings associated with loss. And it's pretty cool. I think it's genuinely quite an interesting game. I think it's cool how they one thing that I thought was like pretentious and stupid the first time I played it, but then I really grew to appreciate it, was the fact that there are random elements. There are certain things that you will only see on certain playthroughs, and the dialogue of the game is randomized. It's like you hear this story in voiceover that, depending on different play sessions, it'll have different elements to the story, or like the stuff will be told in different order, which it all just kind of creates this like miasma of like depression. That's really, I don't know, it's pretty cool. It's a very atmospheric and sad game, and kind of creepy. It never actually gets like what I would consider scary. But definitely creepy. Definitely like enough to raise the hairs on the back of your neck at least one point in the game that I can think of. It has a really cool feature where you see these shadows in the corner of your eye. Like if you directly look at them, you can't see them, but you can see them like in the corner of your field of view in the game. It's really fucking cool, and it's very subtle. It's not overbearing, but it's something that sort of you notice like on an innate like psychological level, even if you don't like outright consciously notice it. It's pretty cool. I'd maybe give this like an 8. Personally, this is one that doesn't really need gameplay for me, but it is kind of boring, of course, just holding W for an entire game. So I don't know, it could have had something a little more interesting. Maybe it could have had more game to it. I don't know. Like at a certain point, I do appreciate when a game actually engages with the fact that it's an interactive medium a little bit more. But they kind of did with the random elements and some other stuff that was actually really cool. So yeah, good shit. It's not for everyone. I think a lot of people would bounce right off of it and be like, this is fucking depressing, pretentious bullshit. This is just nonsense, you know? But I don't know, there's a lot to love sort of under the hood. Anyway, now to the real good shit. Sexy hiking. I am going to be brutally honest. I mean, I have a huge soft spot for this game, but it is kind of junk. It has a cool premise. I don't know if I could recommend it to anyone. Personally, it's not like, I think it's actually considerably easier than Getting Over It. It has the same kind of gameplay as Getting Over It. It is what inspired Getting Over It. But this is what we would call a B game. It's just kind of like visually it looks like shit. The music, I think, is just a bunch of stolen MIDIs of different video game songs. Not even MIDIs. I think a couple of them are just Donkey Kong Country music. But it's, in a way, it's a really fucking interesting little piece of, it's like a little portal into one crazy fuck's mind, you know? Just in a small way. I don't know. There's something I really enjoy about it, and there's something I was very excited to like show it on stream for some reason. I was like, oh, I gotta show everybody sexy hiking. Maybe it was just my like video game hipster brain activating, but I was like really thrilled to show everybody sexy hiking. It is vaguely fun. I mean, it's got like a unique gameplay concept, and it's kind of got a rage game exterior. But it's not really that rage-inducing. Like, the levels aren't really that difficult, and I think the controls are a little more forgiving and like lenient than Getting Over It, at least from what I've seen. So it is enjoyable to a certain degree. It's not a terrible game. Worth like finding, booting up, and playing? Probably not. But it's just sort of fun to marvel at its existence for how fucking like crusty and weird it is. And that it actually has an impact on like modern gaming. Like it inspired a very popular modern game. There's a little piece of fuzz on my microphone that's bothering me, and I don't want to deafen you guys. So I'm going to mute my mic while I pick it off. It was like in the corner of my vision, and I don't want to have you guys hear like, you know. So sexy hiking, I give it like a 6.5. I just want it on the record that, to me personally, like there's a part of me deep down inside that wants to give this a 10 out of 10, of course, but I gotta be real with myself. It's a very short game too, short and crusty, but it is very entertaining by how crusty it is, you know? So just take that into consideration. I have a soft spot for it though. Roundguard, this is a Peggle-like. This is one of the 2 Peggle roguelikes that we're going to have on here. Actually, is it a roguelike? I think it is, yeah. Or like roguelite or whatever the fuck, who cares? I didn't personally get a huge kick out of this one, honestly. It's had many updates since I played it, so maybe it became better. But I don't know, just on sort of a conceptual level, like, this is one of those games that has that kind of like default, like dungeon crawler, Dungeons and Dragons sort of style to it, but it's like cutesy, chibi dungeon crawler, Dungeons and Dragons stuff. And it's just like kind of the opposite of my aesthetic personally. And I know like, oh, what? Oh, why is that showing up? What the fuck? I don't know why that, what the fuck? When I mouse over this thing, it, okay. Wow, what the fuck was that? Okay, whatever. It was like reading a link from, but the links aren't here in this version of the spreadsheet. Monka S? The aesthetic of this game is pretty lame to me, and I don't really remember much about it. Like, I don't feel like I can give a really good, comprehensive opinion of this game, but I seem to remember like the physics, because one of the things, like, Peggle is a genuinely really addictive game because of really good sound design. You know, it's very cathartic and innately satisfying to play, and I feel like Roundguard just didn't have the same sort of snap to it, the same kind of like good sound effects and like physics that really made me enjoy Peggle and that made my monkey brain go poggers. And I gotta be honest, I'm not the biggest on roguelikes, and I just kind of felt like, similar to Peglin, I'll talk about this when I talk about Peglin, it just kind of felt like they kind of crammed the 2 game concepts together without a super huge amount of regard for like how well they would work with one another. That's just my opinion. Maybe if you play more of the game, it has hidden depth and complexity that makes it really compelling, but I don't know. So yeah, I don't know if I would recommend this, unfortunately. It is cute. It's kind of funny. I remember hearing about what was it called? Kaleidatron or something like that. There was a canceled game that was a Peggle-like that got shut down by there was like a DMCA or whatever, a cease and desist from EA, who owns the Peggle copyright now. And it's kind of funny looking at Peglin and Roundguard and seeing how anything, I feel like they might have like got legal threats or something, because anything that could be construed as like ripping off Peggle has been like altered for like copyright safety. Like, instead of there being a free ball bucket, it's like the bottom of the screen is spikes and there's a pillow floating over the spikes back and forth. It's nothing like the free ball bucket, you know? And I wonder if they tried deliberately to make that shit legally distinct. You know, I'm not sure. I don't know. It wasn't terrible, but I would give this like a 4 in terms of my personal enjoyment of it. It just wasn't really my thing. And it didn't really have, you know, people recommended it to me because I like Peggle, and I just got to say there's a lot of things that Peggle has that this doesn't. I know that makes me sound like a super pedantic asshole talking that seriously about Peggle, but it's just the truth. This is a Peggle type game, so whatever. No Straight Roads. This one's complicated. I played like a shitty version of this game, so I feel like I can't. This is a review of the shitty Switch version of the game, where, and this is true, this is a boss rush game. Every other version of the game, every single one, besides the Switch version, has checkpoints at every phase of every boss. The Switch version, for some reason, this was never updated, I don't think, has no checkpoints. You have to do the entire boss in one go. And honestly, the controls, I didn't find them terribly intuitive or like satisfying, so I was struggling at the game, and I couldn't even, it took me like an hour and a half to get past the first boss, because I kept just, breezing through most of the fight, but then they would have a really tough final phase that would kill me, and then you just have to redo the whole fight again. And I was like, wow, this is fucking awful. And people were like, yeah, so that's only a feature of the Switch version, by the way. And also the Switch version is like super glitchy and buggy and has a bunch of like visual issues. I was like, great. I'm so glad and it was like, when I purchased this game, I was like, you know what? I'm finally going to get some use out of my Switch. I'm going to buy a game on here. And then it turned out that it was the infinitely inferior version of the game. But they just abandoned the Switch version. Yeah, did they? But there's a lot to love about this game. It's a cool boss rush type game where the bosses are all, it's supposed to be like a rhythm game where all the bosses have attacks that sync up to the music. And it's pretty well done to a certain degree, but I think really the game, they could have paid a little more attention to how the game actually controls. There was just something about the controls that felt like sloppy and unsatisfying. I could never get the hang of parrying, and you guys know how much I like parrying in various games like, Cuphead and Dark Souls. But I just could never really get the hang of it. And like Fury, oh my god. It felt like the combat was not finely tuned. And maybe this is just mad cause bad. But I don't know. However, this game has amazing art direction. I really like the look of the bosses, the two that I saw at least. The music was very cool. It's another like collaboratory soundtrack. Really cool visual design, very creative. The first boss is like a big like DJ, and at a certain point he like turns giant, and he's got like a solar system around him, and he's like scratching the planets like they're discs, and it's really cool, like really, really awesome imagery. And it has like kind of a cool sense of humor too. And like the visual style is kind of, it's got like a Tim Schafer-esque thing going on with some of the characters. It looks really great from an art standpoint. But yeah, the combat wasn't great. The Switch port was just botched, and it had a bunch of extra shit that just shouldn't have been in the fucking game. Like there were these segments where they're like, run around the city hub world collecting batteries to put in the thing, and I was like, man, this should not have been in the game. They should have taken all the time and energy that they spent making this part of the game, or the fucking like skill tree and shit, and just made the combat better and more satisfying on like an innate level. I remember Yahtzee saying that this game plays shittily, and he put up like an image of Italy with like shit on it. That always stuck with me. It does play shittily. And that's kind of the thing that like sort of breaks my heart about it. But this game gets the biggest, fattest, sloppiest fucking gold star for effort ever. Like I really do. There's a lot of things that I really love about it. Someday it's possible that I will play this with Lark, play like the Steam version or whatever. Let me just pause right here. Big Ape All City, thanks for showing up to the stream, man. Glad you could make it. Off is coming up. I recently beat Off. This guy said he beat Off. Anyway, No Straight Roads is a mixed bag. There's good things and bad things about it, and someday I'll maybe give it another shot. Where we can give it a fairer shake, but I cannot recommend the Switch version. Cannot recommend it. So yeah, that no is specifically for the Switch version. If I play the PC version, and it has like co-op multiplayer, so I might play it with Lark at some point. It's sort of up in the air. It's been a while. All right. What number should I give this? I don't know, like a 7, like really cool art direction and shit. Like, again, there's a lot that I love. Maybe like a 6 point. No, give it a 6 because it's the shitty Switch version. Okay. This is Grim Fandango Remastered. I've never played the original. This is another game that's a really, really mixed bag, actually, where there's a lot of this game that I really love and a lot of it that I truly, and I can't stress this enough, hate. Like, this is a point-and-click adventure game. It is by Double Fine Studios. Tim Schafer was mentioned just briefly earlier. It's a very cool game set in, like, the Dia de los Muertos, like, themed afterlife. And it's like the Aztec afterlife, I think, specifically, actually. And you play as this guy whose job it is to, like... It's like you're an agent who helps people who are crossing over from the land of the living. And he goes on this big sort of, like, mystery intrigue mission to save a babe, I believe, is, like, the primary plot of the game. But it's a pretty complicated plot. It's a very interesting, cool game. If you enjoy early 3D render art or like early 3D polygonal art and shit, this game is an absolute fucking wet dream. It's just got so much, like, if you like the look of Myst and like that sort of like old 3D aesthetic, Grim Fandango, I personally just loved it, like the way it looked, every second of it, even the crusty parts. It's just got that early 3D charm, and it's got really strong art direction. It's got this sort of like Art Deco style, this sort of like funky, jazzy look to everything. That's just, it's really strong visually. That being said, it is a 90s point-and-click adventure game, which means the gameplay, you know, the whole concept of like picking up objects and talking to people and solving puzzles is not innately broken, but for whatever reason, adventure game designers, point-and-click adventure game designers, just decided that they were gonna all like do a bunch of fucking meth at once whenever they designed a puzzle. They just, so many of them are just so ridiculous and such roundabout solutions to problems, so like ridiculous and cartoony and hyper specific, that I found myself having to refer to a guide many times playing the game, like many times. So just keep that in mind. The gameplay, I hated it. Like, truly, some of the puzzles, I was just like, this is just pure crackhead logic. And I've heard that Grim Fandango is like one of the more sensical 90s point-and-click adventures, so I don't even fucking want to know what kind of bullshit I'm gonna face in like Secret of Monkey Island or Day of the Tentacle and shit, other point-and-clicks I plan on playing. So, big ups and big downs, very good voice acting, lots of funny lines. It is a genuinely funny game. I think it's got a great aesthetic. I really love the look of the game. That's like probably to me the strongest part of it. And the writing and the characters and the character designs. Everything is just really cute and charming. But the game itself is really frustrating and unintuitive and makes me feel like I'm an alien. So, yes, very mixed bag. It's also got kind of clunky, you can choose to either do the clunky, weird, crowbarred into the game point-and-click controls, or you can do tank controls, which are also kind of shit in their own way. So, it's got a little bit of like that old game crust to it, but I think if you can push past a lot of the crust, there's a ton to love in this game. So, when I give this an 8, it's more of an 8 of... It's a fucking phenomenal game that is deeply flawed in my mind, rather than this is just a competent game that does nothing super special. So yes, I think I would recommend. It's neat. And this is the remastered edition. I can't speak for how different it is from the original. I think there's even a setting that we dabbled around with that like makes it look like the original again. I really like the way that your inventory works in this game, where you're like pulling it out of your suit coat. And I really appreciate, I really like the way it's structured too, where there's a bunch of big time gaps in the plot where it's like, okay, and then a bunch of shit happened and now you're just sort of dropped into this new situation and you need to go talk to everyone and sort of figure out what exactly has been going on in Manny Calavera's life between now and then. Okay, guys, it's time to beat off, baby. Off is an awesome game. Really, really cool, and one of my favorite RPGs. It does this amazing RPG thing where it lets you just skip playing the game. Like you have to do the overworld puzzles, but the combat, you can just set it to auto fight. And I feel like even when I did my playthrough where we like went back and did all the like harder shit and the secret boss and shit, did I ever even die? I think every once in a while I had to take control and like manually heal. But otherwise the auto fight just kind of won the game for me. And like, I kind of appreciate that setting being there for RPG combat that just kind of bores me. Like I don't engage with it much. So I genuinely, I know this is sounding like a snarky thing, the ability to skip the combat is actually a huge plus for me for off. Like I really like that. So this is an Earthbound style RPG. It's a lot more stark than something like Earthbound or Undertale. It's very sort of like dark. It's a depressing game. To me, this game's just like it really is about depression. Like I hate to say it. This is one of those, it actually is about like just not even depression, but maybe more like apathy. It just depicts a world that's just so completely morbid and fucked that the main character just wants everything to fucking die and just wants an end to everything. It's a very sort of nihilistic game in that regard. But it's really interesting, and I think it's got a really cool aesthetic, really cool music, great soundtrack, fantastic soundtrack. Very like sort of funky and weird and eclectic, but spooky at times when it needs to be, which is awesome. It is fun. It has cool overworld puzzles, in my opinion. It has a lot of those types of puzzles that normally I feel like I would bounce right off, but they were actually pretty intuitive for me, most of them. Some of them I remember having to look up the solution, but most of them are actually, I think, pretty doable and solvable and actually kind of satisfying puzzles, which is shocking, because you would think you would think with a game like this they would just be like cursory random bullshit, but they're actually pretty satisfying. It's a very fun, cool, unique game that I would recommend to anyone, actually. Very neat. It's a French game, so you're going to have to deal with a little bit of the French. But it's got, like, neat characters. It's very surreal, and it's depressing as shit. Holy fuck. 9 out of 10? I'm going to give it a 9. One of my personal favorite RPGs. It's got a lot of stuff that you wouldn't see on a first playthrough too, or at least I didn't, because there was like a secret boss, and there's all that shit where like when you go back to an area that you've purified before, it's like kind of different, and there's different enemies. All that shit I missed on my first playthrough, so there's even some pretty good replay value. Held a message for reason, race, ethnicity, or religion. Allow will post it to chat. I hate the French. Just that entire sentence got modded. That's fucked. Banned. Thought crime against the French. Wait, off is made by French people? No wonder it's about being super fucking miserable. Fuck. Alright, Bull Boy. This is sort of what I would consider to be in the humongous entertainment genre of point-and-click adventures, where a lot of the puzzles are very simplistic, but there are kind of open quotes puzzles where you need to like figure out what to do. It's a little more complicated than humongous entertainment, I guess, but only a little bit. They're pretty simple. This is kind of a gross-out humor, like horror-esque game. It's like cutesy, gross-out horror is how I would describe it. It's kind of like maybe like Courage the Cowardly Dog-esque vibe a little bit is maybe the closest thing I could think of. In it, you play as a stinky baby, as chat has so eloquently put it. Uh, Not my favorite game. It's got some cool qualities. It looks very clean. I think most of the game is green. It's just green all the time, except everything turns red when you die. You play as a little boy who has a light bulb head, and when you die, the light bulb gets crushed. It's really kind of disturbing. But and you sort of go through just this like horrific world, and I think it's supposed to kind of be like, you know, through the eyes of a child. He's like seeing things as a lot more fucked up than they actually are. I don't know if that's actually true, but that's just kind of the vibe that I get from it. I'm not a big fan of like horror games or like gross out stuff, and like making horror cutesy kind of, I think, defeats the purpose of the horror aspects. But it is a very creative game, and there were a lot of sort of like fun moments, or funny at least, or kind of cool. But overall, it's not a particularly substantial experience. I don't know if I will ever play it again. I just really have no reason to. I don't know. I wouldn't personally recommend it, I don't think. But if you, let me put it this way: if you look up a picture of like Bulb Boy and you like see a few of the like images of what the game looks like, and you think, oh, that's like right up my alley, then you probably will really enjoy it. So do check it out if that's the case. Personally, I don't think I would recommend it. Let's give it like a 6. It was competent. It's not like a disastrous, like bad game. It's not like buggy or anything, but it's just kind of meh. Grapefruit's voice combined with Robotnik ass is genuinely hypnotizing.
You're going to give me all the subs in the world!
That was my attempt at a Robotnik voice. That's not really how he sounds, is it? Slender, the 8 pages. And I would like to note here that I also played... I found online, there was like... I searched for quite some time, and there was like another guy that I like found their attempts at like searching up the stuff, and they were like, I can't find the like previous patches of the game Slender, and I was like, neither can I. And we like searched for a while, and I finally found like the mother load that was like every previous version of the game, and I sent it to him, and we were like rejoicing. We were like, yay, we found it. But this is a game that I have nostalgia for. I think a lot of people have vague nostalgia for it from like, what, 2011? It's the Slendy Man horror game. I remember this game being quite fucking scary when I first played it, but I kind of, you know, around 2011, 2012, I think a lot of us got pretty desensitized to jump scares, and this game kind of has like a natural integration of jump scares. I do like the primary gameplay loop. It's just that it's not polished at all. I find the game to be impossibly difficult. I really don't know what the strategy is for beating this game. I've never completed it ever. I don't think I've ever even really come close. I don't know how to like get Slendy Man to not kill you. But I do vibe with this game a little bit just because I have nostalgia for it. It's also, I think this game directly references like Marble Hornets, doesn't it? Which is that web series that used Slender Man to great effect. That was sort of like a found footage thing. Shoutouts to Marble Hornets, actually. I remember watching those and feeling right spooked when I was younger, and I think that series kind of fell off over time, unfortunately. But whatever. I have nostalgia for it, super hardcore. The game is not good. I would not recommend it. But I would just like to reminisce. I do have very fond memories of all these things, and I remember it being genuinely quite spooky when I was younger, for what it's worth. But it's really kind of a nothing game now. Especially with all the things that came after it, all the great leaps and strides that were made in the worlds of jump scare indie horror. But yeah, good times. 4.5? 104.5. How far have we gone today? I started with slower speed of light. Let's try to do one full page. How about it? Oh god, I'm gonna have to do Peglin in order to do that. Maybe we could try to get up to like the SpongeBob games or something. I don't know. man, I'm gonna have to do another one of these streams soon. I really do. I want to get this fucking done. And then maybe after I'm done with this, guys, maybe I could fucking finish the JoJo podcast. Because that's the other really long-running old series that I just need to get around to finishing. But we do have a lot to get around to here. I just think, like, once I catch up, once I review every game that I've streamed, even once I start adding new games, I'll, like, kind of cool it, you know? But we might be seeing a lot of these streams soon. Alright. Slender really fell off after someone got killed for it, huh? Didn't they not, like, actually die? They just got stabbed a bunch? Or did they die? Fuck. I don't remember. That was fucked, though. That did sort of ruin it. That sort of ruined the fun for everyone. Snakeybus. This was a cool game. I think I would... I'm on the fence about recommending this, but yes, I think I would. It is a game that takes the concept of Snake, where you're a thing made of segments that gets longer and longer and it has to avoid, like, crashing into its own tail, and makes it like a bus in a city environment. I do remember it being quite fun, but I also remember it having a few issues. I think, like, it didn't run amazingly well. There were some frame rate issues, if I recall correctly. I might actually be talking out of my ass here, but I think that was the case. It's a fun concept, pretty well done. And it's like, it's one of those things where you gotta expect it to be a little laggy, because at a certain point, there's just so many segments of this bus that's connected, just, like, slamming into each other. You know, it's a pretty well executed concept, actually, for what it is. It doesn't have a ton of maps, but it's got a good variety of maps. It's got unlockables. I think it might even have community content or something. Man, I should have, like, looked into this a little more to remind myself exactly what this game has in it. But this is another kind of game where I can't imagine anyone playing it for, like, a super long period of time, is all. Like, I can't imagine somebody just being, like, a massive Snakeybus fan where they, like, fucking play it all day, every day. But it's a fun little distraction. I would recommend it if you're looking for some goofs and gaffs. Might even have, like, online multiplayer. It has, like, some other weird feature that I kind of expected it to not have. Let's give it, like, a 7. A lot of 7s and 8s, and we're getting a lot of, like, yellow-green in here. A lot of lime. Okay, Verlet Swing. Kind of a similar affair. I like this game more. This game's actually kind of fucking awesome. I'd maybe give it an 8.5. It's got some things I dislike about it, as is well documented. But this is a grapple hook game that is set in sort of a surreal vaporwave world that I think actually, you know, there's, like, games like Wavey the Rocket that kind of have a similar vibe. I think Verlet Swing actually kind of nailed the vibe more than stuff like that, where it's like a more unified aesthetic, and it still feels kind of jokey and memey at times, like when you're swinging on meatballs and shit. But I do think the game looks cool. I think they did a lot with a small dev team, honestly. Like, some of the levels, a lot of the levels are clearly assembled from a bunch of pre-made assets, just assembled in different ways, but it's pretty creatively done, really cool levels, and the last world has some fucking painfully bullshit CBT levels that I hated. That was the one thing that really detracted from this game. Like, it doesn't have the strongest aesthetic. It doesn't really have any story to speak of, which it didn't need any, but I don't know. It's got, like, absolutely nothing in that regard. It doesn't even try. The music is kind of Monkey Ball-esque. It gets a little repetitive sometimes, and it's not, like, the absolute best music, but it's serviceable. It's good. Keeps your blood flowing for sort of the high octane combat. The swinging and the controls and the physics are so... I think this is a game where they spent a really good amount of time working on how the game actually controls and feels, though, because it really is intensely fun to play and just great to, like, swoosh around and be a crazy fucking Spider-Man. just keep in mind that in the last world, there are 4 worlds. In the last world, they're just going to start mixing in these levels that are like 10 times harder than anything you've ever done in the game before. And like some of them are just like not fun too. Like the one that I remember being a turning point in the game was one where it was just like this tight indoor like stone corridor where you just had to be fucking perfect, it felt like, for a lot of it. And that really detracted from my enjoyment of it. However, I was able to use the Twitch. This game has Twitch integration, so I was able to use that to cheese the game because people could vote for what to for like ways to fuck with my game, and one of them was like make everything bouncy, but that one also made it so it was impossible to die. So I'd be like, everyone vote for the bouncy one, and then I would like use it on the hardest levels and just cheese my way to victory, which was kind of fun. But that's of course a privilege that most people are not going to have access to. So I mean, if you really want to have an amazing time with this game and you feel like it was because it's decently challenging up until that point too. Like the game is hard. There are very difficult levels. It's just, it gets fucking CBT out of nowhere. Maybe just skip the 4th world if you really want to like keep your opinion of this game unsullied, you know? But it is very fun. For like 90% of this game, it is a fucking blast and very exhilarating fun action and makes you feel like a badass, which is cool. I like that. Now we got Going Under. This is a roguelike that I played just for a little tiny bit. This and Peglin I've only played a little bit of, so I'm not going to be able to give a super detailed opinion of this. However, Going Under was really cute. A lot to love about it. It's got a lot of personality. It's kind of taken that like corporate art style and like wrangled it into something that is possible for a human to love, which is a pretty impressive feat. It's kind of Binding of Isaac-esque, even, you know, beyond just being a roguelike. Like it's got the map made of a bunch of disconnected rooms that you travel between. Visually, I think this game just looks super clean. I remember there's this effect when you go into the next room where the room kind of like slides up out of the ground or something that just looks really cool. It's very kind of like Paper Mario-esque. I remember it's got lots of cool little visual details like that. If you clip into the main character's head, their brain is inside their head for some reason, and it has a smiley face on it, which I think is a great detail. I don't think you can ever like explode into guts in that game or anything. You just have a smiley brain, which is pretty funny. But it also has a bunch of like story shit that I didn't really give a shit about. It like kind of like tries to have more of a plot than a lot of other roguelikes. Maybe a similar amount of plot to something like Hades, from what I've heard of it at least, where you're like actually talking to characters and like doing story stuff. I could have done with less of that. What with the fact that it's a roguelike, and I don't think I ever even completed a dungeon. Like I did the tutorial dungeon where there's like a forced lose at the end, but I don't think I did anything past that. So I can't speak much about the actual game or like its difficulty or anything like that. But it is a pretty fun roguelike world. I remember that the world has a lot to interact with, and there's like a ton of objects you can pick up and throw and use as weapons. There's cool, funky power-ups and shit. There's a fucking reference to the knowledge to that guy. His name is the Entrepreneur, and he has AirPods in, and he's like this weird vampire guy that's like, I'll make you a business deal. And he like puts like curses on you. I always thought that was pretty funny. The Entrepreneur, fuck off. Lots of really good puns in this game. Some of the best puns, in fact. I seem to remember there was one other that was just like a legendary pun, but I don't remember what it was. Was it? Oh, it was like what was the name of the coffee? It was like the Daily Grind or something was like the name of the coffee store. There was like some really good puns. But cute game. I don't know. I'd give it like a 7.5 actually. I would recommend. Even though I never played it again, it's not really for me. But it was cute. It was clean, well made, and I imagine it could be fun over a long period of time. I'm just not really into roguelikes that much. And yes, I know I play The Binding of Isaac, but that's like an exception. It's a special case. All right, Peglin. Another one I didn't play very much of. Another Peggle roguelike. I think, I hate to say it, but this one also aesthetically is pretty weak. It's just kind of simplistic, Dungeons and Dragons-esque enemies, goblins. I think you play as a goblin, right? Or something like that. It's simple, cute art, but it just doesn't, there's just nothing sort of unique about it to me. The gameplay, I feel was a little bit better than Roundguard. It just felt better. Shooting balls at pegging felt much more satisfying. So yes, this is a review of the old early access version of the game. That's also something to keep in mind. Because I remember, I don't know if this was just user error or what, but I remember there was a certain point where I got a power-up that made a level just basically unbeatable. And we were kind of like, oh, there's some early access shit right there. But I don't know, maybe that was escapable, I don't know. But it kind of felt like it was a little rough around the edges when I played it. It is cute. It's basically fun. I don't really remember, it's kind of like Slay the Spire, where there's enemies walking up to you and you need to defeat them. I've never been super experienced with these kinds of games, so I really felt kind of lost as to how to strategize specifically. So I feel like I only had a very surface level understanding of how to play the game. So I really can't give a detailed review in that regard, unfortunately. But and keep in mind, this is just the version of the game that I played. I don't know if I would recommend it. Just didn't have enough to keep me in, to keep me playing it. And again, just not as viscerally satisfying to play as Peggle. Peggle, and it didn't, Roundguard in this game, they don't really set up cool epic slide moments or really satisfying shots. It's more about gaming the roguelike aspects of it, which if that's your jam, then that's your jam, but it's not really my jam. So, I don't know. I have 5.5. And again, reminder, this is just the alpha early access demo. Okay, Super Puyo Puyo 2. I played this via the Nintendo Switch Online service where they let you play Switch games. I had been playing Tetris Attack and Panel de Pawn and a few other tile games, and I was like, these are really fun. I want to get into, I want to play a little bit of Puyo Puyo Tetris and see what that's like. And I played this. This is, again, I only played a little bit of this, and I only played single player of it. So this is not a rating of Puyo Puyo itself as a concept, because it is very fun to play with other people. But it's more, it was fucking impossible. I could not beat the first NPC. I could not beat the first level of the game. It was just uncompletable for me. It was just a fucking brick wall of difficulty, instantly at the very beginning of the game. So, and I'm not very experienced at Puyo Puyo. I mean, it was my first time playing with those specific rules. I just got stomped into the fucking ground. It was unplayably difficult for me. And so I dropped it. I got discouraged and just dropped it. So at some point, Lark and I will play Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, which is identical mechanically to Puyo Puyo, and we will play that and hopefully have a ton of fun. I know Andrew's actually really good at those fucking tile games, or he's better than me. When we played when we played Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, he fucking whooped my ass at that. So I'm kind of scared. I do want to do tile games at a certain point with him, but I know he's going to fucking destroy me at that. So maybe I'm just doomed to fucking lose forever at Puyo Puyo. But for me, it was it was the single player experience of this, which is what this is a ranking of, was impossible to enjoy. I couldn't enjoy it. So I'm sorry. It feels weird saying no, because I know it's probably a fun game with other people, but this is just my experience with it. So anyway, I don't know if Puyo Puyo 1 is any more lenient or something. I know this was, Super Puyo Puyo 2 was released after Puyo Puyo kind of became a worldwide phenomenon. I think I'm recalling correctly there. Okay, Sprout. Let's just keep going with some of these. Sprout was another one of the better games that has been sent in by a viewer. This game is mechanically just a straight ripoff of Celeste. I would hesitate to call it a ripoff, I guess. But it's got basically the exact same controls as Celeste with the dash. You play as a tiny little character and swoosh around. But this game's quite cool, actually. I know I said, I don't want games to be derivatives, and I specifically mentioned Celeste earlier, but this game is very fun and cool. It's kind of underappreciated, actually. Basically, it's a bunch of Celeste type levels, but instead of, Celeste type levels are like these huge sort of sprawling things. In Sprout, every level is contained inside of a square. They're all perfectly square levels, and they're all designed with speedrunning in mind. So it's like you can one cycle every room if you do it perfectly, which is really cool that they took the consideration to like do that. Because I think the person who made this said that they were like a fan of Celeste and they were like a speedrunner, and they wanted to make a game sort of geared towards training people to speedrun Celeste. So it's pretty awesome, actually. I would definitely actually recommend this. I don't know if it costs money. It's a very short game. It costs like maybe 40 minutes to it takes like maybe 40 minutes to play. Costs. Hold on. I got a Steam key of it, so Sprout $5.99. It's like a little bit much. It's like $1 much, but it is a fun game, and it's actually got really cute, cool pixel art. It's satisfying to play. It feels a little more like Pico Celeste than normal Celeste, just in terms of like it's a little faster and weightier, but it is actually quite cool and cute, and I would actually recommend it. Underrated as fuck, if I had to put a term to it. Yes, and like, I don't know, 7.5. It's good. It's a good game. Now, True Hate, on the other hand, was not good. This was a game that felt like it was really confused as to what it wanted to be. This was another one that was sent in, and I'm gonna, they're probably not even watching. I'll try to be a little kind, but it really just felt like this was an aimless fucking game, because it tried to do, it was like a platformer, but it was supposed to be like CBT, like I want to be the guy, like joke meme difficulty game. And it was also trying to do this like meta shit where there was like a Windows dialogue box that was like flying through the world. I don't know. It was a jumbled fucking mess, honestly, and it just ended up kind of confusing and befuddling me, but not in like a way where it was like, oh, this is so crazy and off the wall. I love looking at this as just like a whack game. It was just kind of meh, and it was not fun to play at all. The platforming wasn't anything special. It was just kind of like sort of basic platforming with a bunch of japes, and it was kind of unclear like what was a platform, what you could stand on, what you couldn't stand on. It was not good. Would not recommend. Like, I don't know. It didn't look like shit. It actually like visually didn't look terrible, but it really felt like this was a game that needed a ton more thought put into just what the fuck kind of game this is and how to actually make it fun. I think they were kind of, the vibe that I got from the email that I received from the creator of the game was that they were trying to do like we're going to like get a bunch of YouTubers to like rage at this game, and that's how we're going to like get our popularity. And if that was the plan, it didn't really work out. It looks like you truly hate True Hate. I do. It wasn't good. Brainstormed. This is a cool, like, whack game. This was also sent in from a viewer. It is kind of rough around the edges. It feels like, again, this would have been a great thing to put in the Zyme Garden. It's just kind of a bunch of 3D modeled nonsense in this big open world that you can... it's kind of like that one part of Antechamber, right? Am I remembering this correctly, or am I, like, Mandela affecting it? I think it's like Antechamber, where it's like a big open world, and if you fall down far enough, it like loops and you go back to the top of the world. So there's like screen wrap all the way around. And it was just like a bunch of weird, trippy 3D modeled shit, and some of it didn't look as great as other parts, and it was clearly very unpolished, and it wasn't really a game. It was more just like a virtual space to look around in. I don't know if I would recommend it, but it wasn't like terrible, and it was kind of interesting and unique. Just give it like a 3. It was cool. I think this person also made another game. This wasn't like a complete fucking like waste of time or anything. Now Space Pug's demo. This is one that I'm sure the creator of it would not be offended if I said it was not good, because this was something that somebody sent in that was just like an early alpha of something they were working on. I think they were just like, getting to grips with how to make a game in general. So I remember there being a very basic sort of first-person shooting engine that was, of course, nothing really special. It was just kind of was there, and I think the game didn't even really have like a proper ending or anything. It was completely unfinished. I don't know. Would not recommend. I don't think anybody can even download it. I don't mean that to be a hateful 1 out of 10, but it was really barely anything. It didn't really even have much of like an aesthetic to it. I don't remember there being pugs. I think there was like a little bit of dialogue. But yeah, I don't know. Not trying to be rude, but it was really not really much of a game. Zenith. This was a game that I got really pissy at. I don't know if it's actually bad or if I just fucking suck at it, but I remember just feeling like the controls just didn't like work. I remember just being very frustrated at the controls. This is a game that sort of styles itself after games like Jet Set Radio. It's like a skating game, but it's very sort of like pop punk, like surrealist vibes too. I know this is a beloved game, so maybe this is just a bad take from me, but it is my take. It's my experience with the game. It looks cool. It's kind of this open world skating game. I think it's sort of unfinished. I think the creators of it, I forget their name. Their name is like something Party. They've got like, the developers have some weird name. They were gonna finish it and then they like didn't for whatever reason. So it's in kind of like a half finished state, but it has this big overworld, and there's this fucking something that really annoyed me was the cell phone. There's like a cell phone that you have that's like constantly fucking like talking at you and like ringing or something and like being annoying. And I just didn't care about like talking to like all the NPCs and it was like link up your phones and play a little mini game on your phone. And I was like, I just do not care about this bullshit. It was not fun at all to me. And then on top of everything else, I just couldn't get a hang of the controls. Just simply could not get a hang of the controls. I couldn't figure it out. Like there was one particular part where I needed to like wall run and jump off at a certain angle to like get to somewhere, and it was just fucking impossible. Like I just couldn't do it. So maybe I need to like play more skating games or something. But it was very frustrating for me. And there were a lot of things that I was just kind of like, I don't care about like this open world aspect of it. It looks kind of neat. And I think does it have cool music? It must have cool music. It must. It literally has to. But yeah, a lot of it really just kind of pissed me off, honestly. So no, I would not personally recommend this. Maybe if you're super into like Jet Set Radio or something, check it out. I don't know, like a 4, maybe. It was not like terrible, and like just riding around and wall riding on things when I was not trying to like get somewhere, that was fun. There were fun parts to it, but a lot of it was just kind of frustrating. And that's it for today. I think we're done. It's hot and sweaty in my room, and it's 10:30 at night. I gotta go get up to some important business, sleeping. But I think we made good progress on the list today. I mean, look at this. I think if I do more than one page, worth every stream. I think that's a good amount, a good solid amount. Maybe next time, you know, we won't do a full page. Maybe next time we'll just do this chunk of games. From SpongeBob SquarePants Revenge of the Flying Dutchman to Cat Lateral Damage. And then the stream after that I'll try to just like blitz through all the arcade games. I'm going to try to like go a little more hardcore on reviewing shit though. We'll see how well I'm able to stick to that. But hey, I did two in rather quick succession, so we'll see if I can do 3 or maybe 4 and get caught up and then do JoJo podcast. Fuck. So, I hope you guys enjoyed. You know, next stream, a lot of these games are pretty simple too. There's like fucking like Undertale and Skullgirls in there, but maybe I'll be able to blitz through these. We'll see. I'll have a lot to say about Super Brothers Sword and Sorcery. But I hope you guys got a kick out of this. As usual, I don't know if you're listening to this in the background while you do something else. Now's the time to go watch like Germa or whatever. In fact, should we raid someone? Is Mike still streaming by any chance? Hold on. Is he still doing Elden Ring? Oh, he is. Let's go raid Mike. Fuck it. /raid Jabrani Mike. Am I spelling that right? Okay, guys. Thank you for watching. Let's go, I don't know. Go yell come in Mike's chat. Oh, wait. We need to wait. Vinny's also live. Okay, well, I've already committed to Mike. All right. Go, go, go! Move, move, move!